friends, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to another reading vlog. I am in casual reading vlog mode, and our theme for this vlog is wedding themed books. And that is because at the end of the summer I am getting married, and I'm so excited. Weddings have been on my mind as I'm planning my wedding, and I thought it would be really fun to just read a handful of books that are wedding centric. I do have a couple. I've had one that I've been interested in for a couple years now, and I'm just kind of curious about it, but I'm also nervous about it because it's not really my typical genre. And then I have a couple, actually I have two that are outside of my normal reading taste. So we'll see how that goes. And then I only have one on hand with me right now. So the three books that I'm planning to read for this vlog are, first, Lovers and Leavers by Amanda Eyre Ward. This is a wedding that takes place in an English manor, English countryside elegance. That sounds fabulous. I'm like obsessed with England, and this entire vibe is like exactly what I want. So this follows these three sisters as one of them is getting married, and they all have a quite turbulent relationship with their mother, and that's going to come to a head during the wedding festivities. So this is a family-oriented, not drama, but it is kind of a more serious angle. So I'm interested to see how this goes. I hope that it has a lot of emotional depth, and I'm really interested in the relationship between the three sisters. Next up, a book that is on its way to me, but not here yet. I got this in my June aardvark book box. That is Lies and Weddings by Kwan. This is from the author of Crazy Rich Asians, and I love that movie. I have never read anything from Kwan, so this will be my first Kwan, and I am a little bit nervous just because his writing is kind of more just contemporary, fluffy, to be honest, than I would typically read. But I am interested in this one because it's a wedding setting, which I am always kind of drawn to. And then there is a little bit of a mystery element to this one, I've heard. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. I'm very much like going in with an open mind to this book. And I hope that, like, at the very least, it's entertaining. I hope it's just like, it keeps it moving. Like, I'm expecting like a lighthearted beach kind of read. And that is certainly where I will be reading this book. And then finally, the book that I'm actually going to start with, that is So Happy For You by Celia. I can't remember her last name. Here's the cover, here's the author. Celia, yeah, I think it starts with an S. Anyway, this book has been on my radar for several years now, and I just like never got around to it. This, I think, is a story following a bride and her maid of honor, and I think it's actually from the maid of honor's point of view. And the maid of honor, I think she's like not completely happy with the relationship, or like not supportive, and I think things kind of like spiral out of control. I've heard it's very campy. I've heard it's kind of out there and silly, which those are things that are not always my favorite things. So I'm not sure how I'm going to react to this, but I have had this on my radar for so long. It has been on my TBR for several years. So let's just go ahead and give it a try. I'll be listening to this one on audiobook, and I will be starting with this one. So without further ado, let's get into the vlog. As you just saw, just went to the bookstore. It is very hard to film in my car, so I don't do it often, and I'm not going to spend too long in here because it's going to get a million degrees. But I did just want to show you what I got from the bookstore. I actually had a lot of self-control. I went in there with, I thought I had a plan of what I was going to buy, and then I just could not make up my mind. But I did get one thing, and that is Burnham Wood by Eleanor Catton. It's finally in paperback, and I will admit that I do have this book out from the library right now, but the pressure of like reading it and getting it back on time is just, with as long as this is, no, the pressure was too much. I don't know when I'm going to get to this, because this is a very long book that I'm very excited about. I think with doing the paperback version, I can like take it on a couple trips or to the beach or something whereas I would not do that with a library hardback. So I'm going to give the one back to the library, and then I just got my own copy, and I hope that this is going to be 5 stars. It's a 5-star prediction for me, so that's why I was willing to spend some money on it. But yeah, I only got one thing from the bookstore, and at one point I had like a stack of like 4 things in my hand, but I didn't do it. I stayed strong. Just got the one thing. Okay, now let's talk very briefly about So Happy For You. I got about 40% into this book today, and it's really not like what I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting because I found out about this book so long ago that I can't even remember. Like, it's obvious that I did not remember what this book was about. It is a wedding-centric story, so I did get that right. This follows the bride and her best friend, who is a lesbian woman, and and the point of view is from this best friend, and she really, basically hates the traditional institution of marriage. She hates all of the heteronormative aspects of marriage, the kind of origins of what marriage is, and so therefore she does not want her best friend to have this big traditional wedding. And she is then asked to become a maid of honor, and she has to like wrestle with all of this traditional aspects of marriage. And at first I really thought that I was not going to like this. Like, when I was about 20% into the book, I was like, I don't know if this is really something I'm going to enjoy, because there is a very long lead up time where she's just talking about their relationship, and this main character is very outwardly spoken about kind of like social issues, and it very much is like, it's in your face with all of the messaging. And like, to be clear, I agree with everything that this character is saying. Like, I do align with this character. However, it's just a pet peeve of mine when it's like so blatantly in books. It reminds me of a book I just recently read called Yours for the Taking, that also had this like very direct, in your face kind of social conversation, which is just not how I typically like to have those conversations. I like them to be a little bit more subtle, a little bit more organically weaved into the story. But the longer that I read this book, like the farther I get in, I think I understand this character a little bit more. And also, like, with my own wedding and like with my own like upcoming marriage, I never thought I was going to get married, and I never wanted to do a traditional wedding. I am doing a traditional wedding more or less, but like, I'm taking a lot of the over the top wedding elements out of it. So I'm definitely like in alignment with this character. And I also am currently struggling with the overly traditional aspects of marriage. So that has been really interesting to hear about. And then it kind of hits a point where things start to get a little bit weird. And I think this is where I completely forgot about what this book is. I think this might have an element of like, I don't know, not like, I don't know if it's not thrillery, but like, I think there's gonna be like a spiral, a descent into madness kind of situation, which I completely forgot that was happening. But to the degree that it's happening is quite surprising to me. And I'm definitely intrigued at this point. But I do think that my criticism would be it took so long to get to that and to understand the tone of this book, or what's even really going on, because at 40% we are barely scratching the surface of beginning the wedding things. So I feel like that long lead up is going to be a problem for some readers. If I wasn't reading this on audiobook, I probably would have already DNF'd it by now, because of how frustrating that character was at first, and then also just like how there was no wedding things for the first like major part of the book. Okay, it is becoming so hot in this car, so I'm going to leave, but that is my update for So Happy For You. I'm intrigued, and I will see this through, which is kind of surprising because I thought if there was any that I was going to DNF, it was going to be this one. I swear, every single time I turn on this camera, the train goes by outside, and it's like clockwork. Silent all day. Second I turn on the camera, train. Okay, I just finished So Happy For You by Celia Laskey, I think that's how you say her last name. What do I even say about this book? What do I even say about this? This is a tricky one. It's a tricky one. the reason it's tricky is because I'm gonna say something and I don't want you to take it out of context. And I don't want you to misconstrue what I'm saying. I'm trying to figure out how to speak eloquently about this book because it's so ridiculous and like kind of nonsensical and insane, and like I know it's trying to do something, and I see it, I do, but that doesn't mean that I like the final product. So the first thing I'm going to say is that, and this is the part that I don't want you to misunderstand, so I'm gonna just try to be coherent about it, but this book is following our protagonist, who is a lesbian woman who pretty much like vehemently hates the institution of traditional marriage, the wedding industrial complex. I get all that. I get that. And I like that as a character. And she is kind of forced to be her best friend's maid of honor, and her best friend is having, the big, huge traditional wedding with all the bells and whistles. And that makes for a fun dynamic, a fun conflict. But our main character, we are in her head so much, and she's a very intentionally, I'll say this is done intentionally by the author, a very judgmental person, and she's just kind of angry with everything. She's in this situation she doesn't want to be in, and because of that, she's just like very angry and complaining and upset the whole time. And I get that that is all intentional, and I don't have a problem with that as a character aspect. What did start to kind of get on my nerves, and this is not unique to this book, this gets on my nerves every single time I hear it, it is that like constant kind of just voicing of opinions on like social issues constantly. And the thing is, this is why I say I don't want to be misunderstood here. I agree with this character. I align with this character. Like, believe me, if I did not agree with the opinions that were being stated in this book, I probably would have given it up at like page 5, because it is so in your face. It's so, like, basically the entire first half of the book is just this character voicing her opinion on every social issue imaginable. And I do think that in the context of this book, there could be a place for those thoughts, especially on things like heteronormativity, on the sexism represented in the institution of marriage, the pressures of society that we force onto women, and like why we have to take marriage like it's so seriously, like why it's such a huge thing that women are pressured into. It's because of the way that society treats single women and things like that. Like, that all very much does have a place in the story. I think we do get to a point where there's a conversation that comes up that to me just didn't make sense in this book. And I think, like, again, I agree with the position stated in the book. I just was a bit confused as to why that was in here. And I do find that sometimes I find that authors will feel the need to put their position on every single social issue in one single book, just in case it's like the only chance they ever get. Like, it's on the record, this is how I feel about this thing. I don't know if that is actually the thought process that goes on, but I've noticed that before in the past. Like recently I read, what is that one that's called? Yours for the Taking, kind of did something like this. And also Camp Zero, I had a criticism of this. And like typically these things come up like primarily in literary fiction, I feel like is where authors do this, but this book is not a literary fiction book. So it was an interesting choice. Like, that's the thing about this book that's been so hard for me, is that it is not what I thought it was going to be in most ways. Like, I thought it was going to be like a campy, like almost semi-thriller, but told through a satirical lens, satirizing the wedding industry. And it definitely is that to some degree, but I feel that where the satire is placed is just kind of like not in the most interesting areas. Like, if I was doing a satire on the wedding industry, there's just so much low-hanging fruit that I would definitely go for, that this book it's not really interested in that. It's more interested in the characters like the dynamic between someone who just does not believe in that and then her friend, I guess they're not really friends even in this book, which is also kind of strange. And just the protagonist's attitude towards the whole situation, like, is kind of just a weird non-driver of the plot. Like, if I were doing this story and I had characters that were best friends and one didn't believe in the industry and the other one did, the point that I would be making is that the reason that one of them was doing it was because she loved her best friend so much, and that just doesn't even really seem to be the reason that her friend is doing this. And to me, I feel like that is kind of like losing the essence of the conversation, I guess. Oh my gosh, I don't know. I'm like trying to talk about this book, and I'm really struggling to make any sense at all. The crazy things that happen are just, they are insane and like honestly very stupid. Like, it's not even like in a fun way, like it's just dumb. And once again, I kind of mentioned this in my other clip, but 40 to 50% of the book does not take place in any kind of wedding situation. And there's a lot of backstory about these two characters, about this protagonist's family, and like none of that matters. And with such a fun premise as this, I would think that there would be more interest in doing more fun things. But it doesn't even get to what I would consider the fun part of the thriller elements until very late in the book. And at that point, it's just, we've lost the threads that we need to enjoy this concept. The satire is just not, it's not strong enough because it's not even satire. Like it's not funny. It's not intentionally poking fun at this thing. It's like this character and this author just saying this thing is bad because XYZ, like in the most blatant way possible. I don't know. To be honest, like I did not hate this book. I did not hate it. I'm still gonna give it 2 stars because I like don't think it's good, but I didn't hate it, and I didn't hate the writing, and I, was interested in hearing our protagonist out. I wanted to hear what she had to say. I didn't DNF it, so I, got through it. And honestly, I might not even, 2.5, I might even be nice, 2.25, okay? I might be nice, but at the end of the day, it's like, you could have done so much with this. You could have made it like genuinely funny instead of whatever this is. It just seemed like the author wasn't, just the creative vision wasn't there for me. I'm gonna stop talking because this is hard. I didn't really like it, but I didn't hate it as much as I thought I was going to, so that's great, I guess. It's just weird. I just don't even know who I would recommend this to. Like, it doesn't do anything in a specific way to the point that I would recommend it, really. Like, but it was an easy enough read, and I got through it, so there we go. Moving on to the next one. Oh, I did actually just now, I got this book, Lies and Weddings by Kwan. It just came. I just got it in the mail today in my aardvark book box. The other things I got in the aardvark box, just for the fun of it, Stuart Turton and The Eyes of the Best Part. So not for this vlog, but those are the other 2 books I got. Lies and Weddings. I'm really just hoping that this is going to be just like a fun, chill beach read. I hope it's entertaining. I hope it's, I'm interested. I want the glam, I want the over the top wedding details. I want the juicy gossip. I want the drama. Like, I'm really just in the mood for just like truly a popcorn read, and that's what I'm hoping that this is going to be. So I don't know when I'm gonna start this, but I will let you know when I do. Hello. It has been a few weeks since I updated for this vlog. It is now near the end of June. I just came back from a walk and took a shower. It's 1,000,000 degrees outside, even though it is, it's 7 p.m. and it's still over 100 degrees. So it's hot. It's very, very hot. Okay, I do have an update because I went on my walk and I started listening to Lies and Weddings by Kwan. And okay, I actually have a lot to talk about.
I got about 25% into it, so just started, but I already have so much to talk about and so much to say. Kevin Kwan, author of Crazy Rich Asians. I love that movie, but I've never read the book. I've never read any books by Kevin Kwan, so I really didn't know really what he was about. Kind of guilty pleasure books, like they're really just for fun, escapism, glamorous, over the top, ostentatious, wealth, just really just like exorbitant and having a good time in that space, and then with maybe like a dash of social commentary. That's all I really knew about him. And this is already really taken me by surprise. This is already not what I expected it to be at all. And like I said, I was listening to this on audiobook, and I will admit I was like struggling to keep up with what was going on because there's so many characters. There's a lot of like socioeconomic politics. This story, to be honest, I was even struggling who the main character was, who these people were. There's like so many characters, and they're royalty. They are like, this book, this one follows the rich of the rich. Like there's the upper class, there's rich, there's celebrity rich, and then there's what we are talking about in this book, which is just like the wealthiest people in the world, like royalty and people with just an incomprehensible amount of money. I really was not following the plot super well to begin with. When I got home, I immediately started like flipping through the beginning of the book, and there is a character list at the front, and that really helped. What I thought was happening was not correct. I had some of the characters wrong, and that's because there's like a lot of like viscounts and royal members and like political leaders, and there is so much going on in here. It takes place in Hawaii, which is exciting because I went to Hawaii earlier this year. Not the same island that this is taking place in, but still, that was my first time in Hawaii. So kind of getting to hear about that more is exciting. But what's surprising me the most is that Kevin Kwan is not backing down from the conversations, the social conversations. He's talking about all of the, political things that go into running countries, who has power, who, what money can buy, what money has done, colonialism in many senses of the word. And this is all within 25%. So I think like I'm gonna be surprised. I think that I might end up really loving this, and that would be the biggest surprise I can even imagine. So I just want to give that update that this is like already so insane in so many ways, and I really just was not expecting it. And like I have to go back through a little bit and like get myself back up to speed because so much happened, and like there's a lot. It takes place in Hawaii to begin with. Oh yeah, as far as like the wedding stuff goes, we dive right into the wedding. So I mean, that's what I love about Kevin Kwan though, and like so far, is that if I have a guilty pleasure, this is going to be it, because we have a big extravagant wedding. We have discussions of travel and lavish, like beautiful places. I love that. This takes place at a resort, and I love resorts. I really do. This features a lot of British families. I love British aristocracy. Like, I love the inner workings of the social lives of the uber rich. That's just like, it's such a fun guilty pleasure. It really is. But he is adding a lot to the table. There's also like a murder that happens in here, and there's like gonna be secrets that are unveiled, familial connections, and like all sorts of implications. Like, I tell you, this book is already crazy, and I'm excited to see where this goes. And now on the front of my wedding, we are actually doing some wedding planning tonight. I can't even believe it, but we really are getting down to the wire. My wedding is coming up. It is like right around the corner. And thankfully we do have a lot of the big stuff done. Like, a wedding will occur. Like, we have everything that we need to have a wedding, but it's just like really tying up all of those small details, and it's getting to the hard part now. So we're doing some wedding planning tonight, and I just really hope to make some good progress and just check some things off of my list. So that is what I am up to. I will come back when I have more of Lies and Weddings read.
Hello again. I know this is like a super weird camera angle, but it is what it is. I'm actually standing on my tippy toes to make the frame better. If I sat down, I'd have like a lot of headspace, but And also please ignore my really messy desk back there. Okay. Do have a little bit of a reading update for you for Lies and Weddings. I feel like I didn't do a good job with my last update. I was like speeding through it because it was so hot and I was so uncomfortable and I just wanted to be done with it. But Lies and Weddings, I am about 50% of the way through it and I am enjoying it. I'm definitely enjoying it. Although I do have to say that I think I kind of made a mistake with this one. Actually, by listening to the audiobook, and not to say that they're not doing a good job, the audiobook is fine. It's just I am not processing everything the way that I would be if I was reading it. And every once in a while, I do just have this issue where it's just like, there's so much going on in this book. It probably would have been easier for me to understand all of the nuances if I was reading it with my eyeballs. So I do think there's a lot that I'm missing in this story because I am listening to it via audiobook. But that being said, I'm liking what I'm hearing. We're following a lot of different perspectives, and this thing is nuanced when it comes to money. Like, honestly, this, I said it before, but this is really my kind of guilty pleasure. I love to learn about the ultra rich, where they got their money, how they got their money, and that's exactly what this does. This goes into detail. This isn't just like, oh, here's some, rich people, flouncing around. This is like every details about how every person got their wealth, the political connections, the societal implications, their relationships. Like, it is very, very nuanced. So you really got to care about just the highest degree of specificity when it comes to these people in their lives. And thankfully I do actually very much enjoy that. I enjoy the level of detail. I think that it works for me and my personality, and that's what I'll say about that. I also love the travel. It just we're going to so many different locations in this book. We are in Hawaii, we're in London, we're in Paris, we're in Morocco. It's just glamorous, and I'm only 50% of the way through, so I'm sure we're gonna have a couple other incredible destinations. It is just the highest degree of glamour, which is exactly what I want. I want all of those locations, and we get to bounce around. It's just so fabulous. I love that aspect of it a lot. And I am starting to kind of wrap my head around the plot. Like I said, there is a lot of characters, a lot of movement, a lot of time periods, a lot of settings, a lot of perspectives. This is a jam-packed book. And honestly, I give such major props to Kevin Kwan for writing this kind of story, because you go into this, and at least maybe this was just my perception of his other works, but I kind of expected them to be a little bit more fluffy beach reads. And sure, they are that way to some degree, but this is much more intense and plot heavy than I was expecting at all. And talking about the wedding element, not only was there a wedding that kicked off right at the beginning of the book, there are multiple weddings in this book, which this says Lies and Weddings with an S, so I guess I should have known that, but there is no shortage of wedding content in this book, which is fabulous. Honestly, I'm really enjoying this, and I feel like I would enjoy it more if I would have actually been reading it and just kind of slowing down and taking my time with it. But we don't got that kind of time. So I'm just going to continue on. It's a long book, honestly. I think, yeah, it's 420 pages. So gotta keep going. I'm enjoying this, and I will be interested to see how I feel after I finish the book. And speaking of wedding content, let's talk about some of my wedding planning. I don't know if anybody cares, but I always love to hear about the planning process. I've been getting a lot of stuff done in a very short amount of time because I've been really, really busy, and it was hard for me to focus on the planning aspect when I had a lot of other things going on in life. And now that some things have kind of slowed down, I'm able to focus on the details, which is important because my wedding is creeping up on me. It is coming fast. It's coming very fast, and it's very exciting, but I'm starting to get just that a little teeny tiny bit of stress. But we are moving through things very well, and I'm kind of just, oh my gosh, I'm just going through my list. We got some big stuff done recently. I got a lot accomplished today actually as well, which was really great, but I have 4 phone calls with vendors to kind of go over some of just the finalizing of the details. Thankfully, those vendors are helping me out a lot, but I still have, a lot to get done. And one of the hardest parts for me is like figuring out what the look of it is going to be and like how to design a space. I'm not an event planner, and like I have all of this like random stuff, like just completely random stuff I've been finding on Facebook Marketplace and like hoping for the best. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to like make these things. Also, my wedding is not in the state that I live in, so I have to figure out how to get all of this stuff to the location, which is just a little bit crazy. So we are getting down to the wire for the planning, and I will be doing a couple other kind of DIY things a little bit. I'm kind of stressed out about that. So I will continue to bring you along as long as there's anything interesting to show. Right now, there's not a lot interesting, honestly. It's a lot of talking, but I'm getting through it, and we are chugging along to the finish line. Hello. It is really dark in here. It's just how it's gonna be. I have just finished Lies and Weddings by Kwan, and okay, interesting. All right, so I liked it. I didn't love it. I thought it was different than I expected it to be, and mostly in a good way. I will say there's just different facets to this book that I think are going to appeal to different people. If you are picking this up because you want like a romance, I would say the romance is just not, it exists, but it is really not the main focus of this book. A lot of time is again dedicated to the flashing money, the glitz, the glamour, the going to expensive, crazy places, the over the top money is the focus of this book, more so than basically anything else. There is a romance. It's pretty not, it's not as focused as I would have expected. And then there is even a little bit of a sort of mystery element, but honestly, it's obvious. From very early on. And then the other issue I think that I would say is that it's very similar to Crazy Rich Asians. There's moments, like I would say like beats in the story that are very similar to Crazy Rich Asians. And for me, I'm just like, I wish you wouldn't rip off your own bestseller, like I think, we can reach outside the box. But that being said, if I would have consumed this story instead of Crazy Rich Asians first, I think I probably would have liked this one better because there's more going on. There's more locations, more characters, more dynamics, more money, more power, more everything in this book than in Crazy Rich Asians. This really is just Kevin Kwan doing what Kevin Kwan does best. It's the big money, uber wealthy, like it's just very much what he usually does. I mean, without having read the other ones, of course, what I know of Crazy Rich Asians. So it's like, yeah, I mean, it's good. It is well written. He does do it well, he knows what he likes, he does it well. It's a well-written story. There actually is a story. The characters are dynamic. Like, I mean, I guess that's the thing. He just doesn't really want to go outside his comfort zone. And that's okay. That's okay. Not everything has to be different. Maybe this book does feel bigger than those other ones though, because he jam-packs so much into this. So many locations, so much going on, like so many characters. Like, it does feel like it's more, but it is more of the same from Kevin Kwan. So it's not going to push any boundaries. It's not going to do anything radically different. It's all in the same vein of what at least I knew of Kevin Kwan. It was exactly what I expected it to be. And you know what? That's fine. I still liked it. And if you are looking for just like a very, I don't know, if you're looking to escape into the lavish life of the uber wealthy, I mean, there's really no better book
Okay, we're finally doing a little bit of actual wedding planning content. We are attempting to do a DIY decor project, which is, it's really not my thing, but we're gonna try. So we have these clear vase glasses, these like stems, these bud glasses, and we are attempting to dye them other colors with paint and food coloring and clear glue. It's I don't know how this is going to turn out. We have a lot of them, and if they don't work out, I'm just going to have to leave them clear because I don't know if this is going to accomplish our goal, but we are trying. We have a yellow, and then we're going to do pink and green, and we're just going to see what happens. Well, this is going to be a bit of an anticlimactic, unceremonious end to the vlog because, yeah, I tried reading this and I DNF'd it so fast, like 10% or less. I just hated the writing. I really just hated the writing. This is a very contemporary, this is not literary, this is pure contemporary, and you know what? That works. There's a time and a place for it, and honestly, like, that's what Lovers, Lies and Weddings, both these books had a very similar title actually. Lies and Weddings by Kevin Kwan, that one was also written in a very contemporary tone, and I think that that's just too much of the same for me. I just needed something else. So this, yeah, I don't know, I just didn't think this was actually going to end up being for me. I wanted like a cute, sweet English wedding story, but this is the thing when I try to do these themed vlogs is that I really struggle with, like, there's just too much of the same. Even if they're in different genres, it's just like the 3 books that I read or attempted to read for this vlog were very, similar in a lot of ways. And I get that that's the idea, that's why I put them together, but it's just, I just didn't want to read this. I tried. I had a couple chapters and I was just like, no. I didn't like it. So I will be passing this on, and hopefully, honestly, I got this book in aardvark, in my aardvark box, and I only picked it because I already paid for 3 books per year when I got the aardvark subscription. So it's like, of course I'm going to take 3 of the books, even though I didn't necessarily want or need 3 of them every single month. That's just the situation I'm dealing with aardvark right now. So that's going to be the end of that, but I'm going to be passing it on. Thank you so much for watching this vlog. Did I learn anything about weddings and what I'm doing for my own wedding? No, I didn't really learn very much. All the weddings were very sweet, not sweet, because So Happy For You was not a sweet wedding situation. Lies and Weddings, there was lots of weddings, so that was very fun. I'm getting excited for my own wedding, but these books didn't necessarily move the needle for me one way or the other. But this was a very fun little idea that I had, and I've been thinking about doing this vlog for a while, so it was fun to just go ahead and give it a try. And I definitely got through some books that I had been thinking about. So Happy For You I've had on my radar for a while, so I was happy to get through that, actually. Happy to get that off the list. Let me know down in the comments below, have you read any of these books? What did you think about them? Or do you have any tips or just something I should keep in mind as I go through the last couple months of my wedding planning? I would love to hear anything that you've got, any fun comments. I'd just love to hear them. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you back here next time. Thanks so much. Bye.